Twentieth-Century Spies by Neil Root, narrated by Jonathan Keeble.
Introduction. This book is a survey of 10 of the most interesting spy cases of the 20th century. It does not claim to be an exhaustive account of the century's espionage, and the focus is specifically on those who spied for another country, one to which they were not attached or had no allegiance to by birth, citizenship, or employment. The 10 cases were chosen to illustrate the full range of motivations for spying, such as financial gain, political ideology, dissatisfaction with society, or misplaced loyalty to friends or countries, as well as the circumstances that may coerce someone into committing espionage. Spying stretches back to ancient civilizations, with various examples from ancient Egypt, Greece, and the Roman Empire. One of the first major spy networks in more recent times was that organized by Sir Francis Walsingham in Elizabethan England. In the 20th century, which saw 2 world wars, the Cold War, and numerous other conflicts, the gathering of intelligence against enemies became more sophisticated and ruthless as the political stakes were raised and the technology of espionage developed more rapidly. There was also a massive growth of peacetime spying. Knowing what your potential enemy was doing in peacetime became as important as defeating that enemy in a war. By the time that spies were being arrested within the CIA and FBI in the 1990s, the world of espionage was almost unrecognizable from that 90 years prior. The 10 spy cases presented here, ranging from Mata Hari at the beginning of the century to Aldrich Ames at the end, illustrate the development of espionage and showcase the most interesting personalities involved. The celebrity exotic dancer Mata Hari was caught up in the paranoia of World War I, when the fear of spies was suddenly pervasive. Other spies from the first few decades of the century were more defined by political ideology and its impact on political events, mainly the rise of communism and the spread of fascism. Some, such as the Cambridge Five, Klaus Fuchs, and Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, were greatly influenced by political idealism, while others were more focused on their own gain, loyal to themselves and their own intellect more than anything else. As the divide between the West and the East widened, John Vassall experienced the Soviets' newly developed blackmailing techniques, and those involved in the Profumo affair were manipulated and played, largely due to their own carelessness. For Aldrich Ames, political alliances and loyalty mattered little. Money was all. It should be noted that this book includes the first in-depth analysis of the memoirs of Anthony Blunt, a member of the Cambridge Five ring of spies and surveyor of the Queen's pictures. His memoirs, publicly released in the summer of 2009, give Blunt's considered view of his espionage, treachery, and public disgrace. As a former spy and an intellectual, Blunt is adept at not divulging incriminating details. But, in the emotion of old age, in the midst of his own ruin, he gives us more than he perhaps realizes, with rare honesty and emotion. As late as 1999, a tiny elderly woman named Melita Norwood, aged 89, was exposed as a former Soviet spy, with some saying that her work for the Russians was as important as that of Kim Philby or Klaus Fuchs. This is debatable, but the frail, bespectacled lady filmed outside her cottage for the television news was far from the popular image of a spy. Her spying had been mainly done in the 1940s and contributed to the Soviet atomic effort. She was not prosecuted, as she was so old, and it was so long after the event, with the Soviet Union then extinct for almost a decade. But it is also possible that any prosecution would have embarrassed the British Secret Services because of security lapses they allowed to happen decades before. The importance of public opinion should not be underestimated. The public's view of its own security is paramount in the minds of elected government officials in democratic countries, although in totalitarian regimes, security information is largely kept hidden from the public. It is certainly the case that the anti-German paranoia in France and Britain led to the extreme way in which Mata Hari was dealt with, for example. Likewise, the Cambridge Five